Thursday, I think it is. How are you? I'm so glad you're here with me today. Listen, I want to talk to you about gaslighting. Have you ever felt like you were being pushed out of a job without being directly fired? Like the walls were closing in, but no one was saying it out loud? Stick with me today. I'm going to share with you some gaslighting at the worst workplace because it's real. And listen, it's dangerous. It's not just about doubting yourself. It's all about controlling you until you either submit or leave. Now, I don't want to say my opinion, but I think it sounds like it's slavery. But you know I have my opinions about the workplace, that job. Today, I'm sharing my personal story of being slowly forced out of my job through manipulation, isolation, and gaslighting. If it sounds familiar, I want you to stay with me because I'm going to tell you what you can do if you're in that situation. Are you ready? So let's get started. Here's a simple question. When you hear this question, or maybe you've heard this question, but I know I did. Okay, let's just start by this. Here's my story. Several years ago, 5 years ago, I started a position that I thought was going to be great for me, meaning it utilized all of my abilities, my real estate background, as well as my coaching ability and my writing skills. So it encompassed all of what I do. And I thought, yes, this is a great opportunity. Plus, it included my ability to advocate in the community. So I thought that was really, really, really great. So I said yes. Even though I saw some red flags, I said yes. All right, because I thought maybe I would be great in this position and wouldn't have any issues. So I thought. It came to a head when I heard the statement, "Why come everywhere I go, your name comes up?" Now, of course, my response and my thought was, what did I say or do? She says, "Oh, I heard your name. Everywhere I go, someone knows you, And I simply said, well, I was literally, someone before I got here, a community advocate, all of those great things, right? So, okay, but it started. I didn't know that was the slow burn of the forced exit. I didn't know, all right? So keep that in mind. Now, as I'm going through my work, I'm doing it with ease because it's something I've always done. But after a while, I started noticing that maybe several days afterwards, not several, maybe 2 to 3 weeks after, everyone started to get cold. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone stopped, allowing me to have a conversation with me. Like there was stipulations put on it. So like, one person that I always went to in the team said to me, "You know what? Now that I have to supervise a different area now. Maybe you need to go to your team leader and share those thoughts, those challenges." So I noticed that. That was number one. Number two, my team leader started being cold and misdirective and very short. So I said, "Well, no, what's going on here?" Right? The next thing I noticed is that my executive director was always, disconnected, but very cold too, and would literally go the other way when she saw me. I had no idea what that was about. Okay, so that happened. And then right after that, about 3 weeks later, they started taking roles from me, like duties from me. Don't do this, don't do that. This is what your contract doesn't say, don't do this. They started making things up, which wasn't even true because I am a stickler for knowing the policy and knowing what my duties and my roles are. I'm a stickler to that. And I was like, that's not true. I would always challenge it. So they started to tell me, well, this is what you're going to do. They started limiting my roles, changed my roles. So what I started to do, what I really recognized is that the irony was when I came into the position, they didn't even have a title for me. So I had to create one. And they didn't have duties for me. So I had to create that. So the irony is I had written all my job description, so they couldn't take anything from me. And they didn't even know what my job was. That's how disconnected they were. So why am I saying this? The statement, why come everywhere I go, your name comes up? That sentence planted the seed of exclusion. Okay? That started. That's where it started. They were trying to strip me of something they never gave me. Never gave me. Their actions weren't about my performance. They were about control or jealousy, about making sure I did things their way. This was gaslighting at its highest form. Now you hear what I'm saying to you. This is gaslighting at its highest form. Making someone doubt what they do, how they do it, so it aligns with what you do, even though you don't know what you're doing, and it's done your way when you don't even know what your way is, okay? So that's the highest form of gaslighting. It strips you of something they never gave you, okay? So here's the gradual breakdown. Over the next few weeks that I told you, I think it was 3 weeks, they gently relieved me of my roles. Gently, okay? Gently, right? So I kept modifying my tasks as to be useful, and I modified it. I went along with it, boom, boom. I modified it, right? But soon modifying meant I was denying myself. Now you remember, when I came into the position, it utilized my real estate background, it utilized my coaching background, it utilized my community advocacy background, it utilized my being an author, so I could create, so it utilized all 4 areas of my life. But it was, as they were taking my tasks, it was limiting and making me deny myself. And I really started to clearly see that they were forcing me out by making me shrink. Now I want you to hear this, because this is so very important. People do not see this, and I need you to see this. The longer I stayed, the more power they had over me. That wasn't just workplace stress. That was manipulation designed to break me down. I'll let that sit for a minute. Yeah. That wasn't just workplace stress. That was manipulation designed to break me down. Thank you, Outdoor with the Boys. Thank you so much. Now, the second thing was the emotional and the physical toll. I woke up every day with a headache, even though I meditated 7 to 8 and I did all my exercises between then. 9 a.m., by the time I was ready to get on their Zooms, I had a headache. By noon, I was exhausted, right? And I had never taken naps, and I was taking a nap. In meetings, I was either mentally drained, silent, or overwhelmed with emotion. Now, hear the signs. In the meetings, I was either mentally drained, silent, or overwhelmed with emotion, meaning I would hear something or I would contribute to something and not have control over my emotions. That my emotional part was taking over, making it sound like I was irate. But I wasn't. The point was valid, but I was overwhelmed. See, that's what overwhelmed is. Overwhelmed is all these emotional things that are going on seep into something that you're doing and then makes it explosive and can be misinterpreted. I felt like I was working with energy vampires and manipulators. They were like really taking my energy from me, right? So what was my breaking point? Even when I took medical leave for 2 weeks, they pushed harder. They needed me back for some reason, some valid reason that I had to give input on something. So I returned. I said, listen, I told my team leader, listen, I'm gonna return for this meeting, but here's the caveat. I'm gonna keep my camera off and I don't wanna, be involved in anything. And if I need to, say something or address something, I will email it to you. You make that stance, okay? All right. Agreed between me and my team leader, and I was on a doctor's note. So I want you to remember this. Listen to what I'm saying. I was on a doctor's note, doing them a favor. Shouldn't have, but that's later on. Listen to this. So I was on a doctor's note, and I came on without turning on the camera. Now, I had told my team leader this. My executive director created a new rule that day. Everyone must have their camera on, even if they have a doctor's note. Now, what did that do? Because I told my team leader, he told her, and okay, he has a right to tell her, but she has no right to say that out loud because that's not the message she should have told. She just said everyone have their camera on. Or respected my view, but she wanted to include me to let me know that I was out of line, out of their purview of what they want to control. So she violated my HIPAA, and I made sure that I let her know that immediately by email. Right immediately on the meeting, let her know. And then I got off. They violated my HIPAA law and thought that I wasn't going to do anything about it. That was the final straw for me. I handed in my 2-week notice, and when I was leaving, let me just jump back. Before I left, I had to even announce that I was leaving because they weren't willing to tell the other staff members I was leaving. The ED had no guts to even show up and say that I was leaving. So I thought it was like the most inappropriate behavior there ever was. Why? Because they were manipulators, and when manipulators are found out, they jump out of the way, they get out of the way because they don't want to be found out by others. Once you find the manipulator out, once you find the energy vampire out, once you find the gaslighter out, they disperse because they don't want everybody else to know. All right. So when I was turning in all my equipment, especially the computer, I was asked, so where are you going? I didn't even dignify it with an answer. I ignored it totally and just said, I'm going on vacation. That's all I said. But the audacity to even control my exit was really, really, really manipulative. All those statements you just heard, my story you just heard, is an example of gaslighting. Didn't know it until I started going to therapy. So, leaving is not, I want you to know this, leaving is not healing. It's survival. So you want to get out of survival into thriving, therapy, and doing the inner work. That means recognizing, knowing, understanding, educating yourself on it, and going to therapy. I went to therapy 3 months, 1 time a week, okay? 4 times a month to get this straight, okay? So what happens after you leave? I just told you. That trauma stayed with me. It made me think I couldn't get a job nowhere else. I knew I needed help. So I started therapy, like I just told you, once a week for 4 months. I had to reprogram my mind and untangle the manipulation that I endured. Because let me tell you, I've owned my own business, and I have never, ever, ever dealt with anybody that was over me. So I was always over everyone else, but I never had that. You know, I had an office with 15 agents in each office. I had 2 offices, and I never manipulated them. At least I didn't. I think I didn't, but they haven't reported that I did. But I've never endured someone to use manipulation to get what they wanted done. The next thing I did, I educated myself about workplace trauma, because I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to thrive. And that's what I'm telling you today. So what can you do if you're in this situation? Number 1 is recognize the signs of gaslighting. I gave you a terrific sign today, recognizing it. If you're isolated and micromanaged, or like you start to question your own reality, trust your instincts. Trust the information that is given to you. Trust it. Because it is gaslighting, it is manipulation. And do another thing, document everything. Emails, changes of your role and conversation. Document everything. Don't just leave it to chance. Document everything. 2, seek outside support. Find a mentor, a therapist, or a legal expert who understands workplace trauma. Don't wait until you completely drain. Start planning your exit early. That's what I did. When I noticed it, I started planning. Okay, I started to figure things out. That means I started to. Now listen. Planning is not looking for another job. Planning is literally, how do I exit in a peaceable manner, that I leave it better than I left it, than I received it, and that means financially. How you're set up financially, how you're set up, mentally, how you set up physically, how you set up socially, right? All of those things, you make sure you create an exit strategy inclusive of all those things, okay? So, start planning your exit strategy early. Okay. 3, know your worth and set your exit strategy. If a job is forcing you to deny yourself, it's time to go. Have a financial and mental health plan in place before you leave. Let me tell you something. Even when you enter a position, make sure that you sit down and count the cost. Okay? What you have to do versus how much money you can save up, if it's even feasible long term. Most of us do not do that. We don't sit down and count the cost of what it's going to take for us long term, sustainably. We think about right now. And that's a mindset of lack, that you don't have it. But when you want to build wealth and when you want to create abundance, you're going to sit down and you're going to count the cost, period. But that's another time and a place. So, what are the lessons learned? And here are the 3 takeaways. 1, gaslighting thrives in silence. Trust your instincts. Speak about it, talk to someone about it, and get out. 2, leaving is just the first step. Healing is a process. 3, no job is worth sacrificing your identity, your dignity, and your well-being. Now, in closing all of this, knowing my story, knowing the things that you could take away, I'm going to ask you this. Have you ever experienced workplace gaslighting? And if you did, if it sounds familiar, drop your story below. I'd love to hear your feedback, love to hear your comments. If you need help navigating workplace trauma, let's talk. I'm here to help. And remember, you're not crazy, you're not alone, and you deserve better. I hope that something I said today helps you take away something that'll help keep you healthy, happy, and wholesome. Bye for now.